So next, we take a look at nesting of loops. Now, what are nesting of loops? We also call it as nested loops, right? So whenever we are placing one loop inside the body of another loop is actually called as nesting of loop, right? We can have a for loop inside a while loop, a do while loop inside a for loop, right? While working with nested loops, the outer will change only when inner loop is completely finished, right? Now, what is this thing? We'll gonna take a look at it with a practical example. So let us design some nested loops, loops. As in, I'll create a new class over here and say nested loops, right? Now what we need to design over here, we're gonna take up some scenario in which I want to execute a while loop for, let's say, 3 times, uh, for loop for, let's say, 4 times, and a do while loop for 5 times, right? Now, how many times the loop will actually gonna run? If I have a scenario like this, so how many times the loop will gonna run? Will it gonna run 3 plus 4 7, 7 plus 5 12 times? No, it will not gonna run for 12 times. The straightforward answer is you need to multiply these things. So 3 into 4, 3 into 4 is 12, 12 into 5 is 60. The loop will actually gonna run for 60 times, right? So how we gonna design it? Let's start with a while loop first. So what I'll gonna do? I'll initialize I with 0. This is a standard. Any loop, the standard format of starting a loop, initializing a loop or a variable is with 0 itself, right? So I'm gonna say I'm gonna run this while loop for 3 times. So I'll say while I is less than 3, right? So whatever the number that you need to increment the loop for, if it is 30, then you need to give it like 30, because it will gonna run 0 less than 30, right? So 0 till 29. So ultimately there will be 30 iterations, right? So we need to run it for 3 times. We have given it 3 over here. Now inside a while loop, I need to run for loop for 4 times. So I'll say for print standard I equal to 0. I we have already taken. I'm gonna take j equal to 0. J is less than 4, and then j plus plus, right? And within for loop, I'm gonna use the do while loop. So do what this do will gonna do. Let us see. Let us write a do while condition first, and the condition should be it should run for 5 times. So I we have already taken. We're gonna take one more variable, k equal to 0, right? And this will gonna run for 5 times. So less than 5, right? And here what I'm gonna print, I'm gonna print the value of these loops. So as in I'm gonna print the value of I. So I'll first say I is plus I, right? Then I'm gonna print the value of j. So I'll say plus j. Then I'll gonna print the value of k, right? So I'm gonna say k is plus k, right? Let me format it so that it should be more readable. So for we have a for loop within a while loop, right? Then we have a do loop within a for loop, right? All right, and then it ends over here. All right. Now there is still some mistake in this loop. Just think for it. We have actually missed to add something. what we have actually missed is to increment the value of this while loop and this do loop right over here. So what we actually need to do, we need to increment the value of do over here. So we need to increment the value of k. So I'll say k plus plus, right? And then I need to increment the value of this while loop. It initialized with I. So where we need to do it, we need to do it after this, right, within the while block. So we need to do it over here, right? Now just think about it, what this loop will gonna print. So whatever that we have written over here, how the execution will gonna happen and what it will gonna print. Just take out a notepad and a pen and just try writing these things. Just do a dry run over here and see what will be executed first, and after that what will be executed. So how and which sequence this loop will gonna follow. Just pause this video for some time and try to print out these things. So just dry run this loop, you will find another mistake inside this loop. Right, let us dry run this. Let us dry run this over here. Right, now very first time which loop will gonna execute? Very first time the outer loop will gonna execute. So what it will gonna print, what the value of I is 0. Like let's say we are doing a dry run over here, right? So 0 is less than 3. Yes, it will go inside it. For j is 0 less than 4. Yes, it will go inside it. Very first statement, this will be printed. The value of I is 0, right? The value of j is 0. The value of k is 0, right? This is the very first statement that gets printed. Next time, what will happen? Will it increment the while loop? Will it increment the for loop? Or will it increment the do while loop, right? It will actually gonna go inside this loop only, right? First the inner loop that gets incremented, then the outer, then after that the later one, right? So what happens next time? It will check whether the condition k is less than 5. Yes, k is less than 5. What it will do? It will again go over here and it will first increment before going over here. It has actually, what it has done, it has incremented the value of k, right? So the k was 1. So k is 1 is less than 5. Yes, it will go over here, it will print the value of I to 0, then value of j to 0 and value of k to 1, right? Then again it will again increment this, like this is incremented. Next time it will be 2 is less than 5. Yes, so it will gonna print again the same thing. I will remain 0, j will remain 0, and this will 2, and it will gonna run up till 5. So till the time the value is less than 5 basically. So we need to run it for like up till 4, right? We are running from 0 till we are running k for 5 times. If you see over here, do while is for 5 times, right? So it starts from 0. It will check whether this when the value becomes 5, is it less than 5? No, it will come out. So this loop will actually gonna run for 3, 4, and then it will quit from here. Then the do while loop will end over here once it prints the value of till 4, right? Now next what happens, it will come to the for loop. Now the turn is of this for loop, right? Now let's see what happens. For loop will gonna check the value of j is 0. It will actually increment the value. The very first time it has already printed j 0. Next time it has incremented the value of j to 1. So what happens? I is still 0, j becomes 1, right? J becomes 1, and when we take a look over here, what this thing will gonna print? What k will gonna print? Will it gonna print 0? No, it will not gonna print 0. Why? Because we have already changed the value of k over here. The k is already 5 because we have declared k over here. right? What happens when the value becomes when we are into this loop, right? When we were executing the last value, the value of I was 0, value of j was 0, but the value of k was 4. Then it incremented the value of k to 5. So means the value of k was 5. And then we checked whether k is less than equal to 5. It was false. It came out of the loop. But the value of k still remains as 5. So what it will gonna print? It will actually gonna print 5 over here. And that is what we don't want. We want this should actually get reinitialized. So instead of writing k over here, we're gonna declare it over here. So next time once the loop is completed, it will again go inside the for loop and again reinitiate the value of k to 0. So next time what happens? It becomes j becomes I becomes 0, j becomes 1, and this becomes 0, right? Then again what happens? Next time this will be 0, 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, this will be 4, and this will be this will be 4, and again now this loop will be incremented. This j will actually gonna run up till 2, and then it says 2 0 2 1, then 2 2 2 3 2 4, then it will become 3 3 0 3 1 3 2 3 3 3 4, and then run for 4 times, right? And once this is over, it will again go to the last one, and this will actually gonna run for 3 times, right? So let us see how this while will gonna run. Then let's assume the last value that we got over here was 0, 3, and 4, right? This is the last value when this loop will get incremented up till the last time we actually gonna get this value, right? Then what happens when this is 4 less than 4? It will go out of this loop, right? And it will actually gonna increment the value of I. So next time I will be 1. I will be 1. Again it will go inside this for loop, and what happens? K will again become 0, j will again become 0. So it will just give me a moment. It will actually gonna turn to be 0 and then 0, right? And then it again initiate all these values. So it means if I run this, you'll see the output something like this. We got some error with the launch. Just give me a moment. We got error in some other class. Okay, let me comment out this. Right, so let us run this and let us see if it executes the same way or not. Oh, okay, we got some issues. So what happens over here? This I is being incremented. Have we incremented I or not? Okay, you know what? We did a mistake over here. I just mentioned this as I instead of j. Right, so this is where it got break. Right, so we'll give some more spaces over here. After k, I'll just give more space, so it should look more clear. Right, let us run this now. See, your I, the very first I loop, it ran for 0, then 1, then 2. If you talk about j, it ran for 0, 1, 2, 3, up till 3, right? If you talk about k, it ran for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this runs for 5 times, this runs for 4 iterations, 0, 1, 2, 3, and this ran for 3 iterations, right? And if you do a total count, if I just copy this thing and go to Excel and paste it over here, you will see that total count it shows as 60. So the loop actually ran for 60 times. That is what we have just seen. 3 into 4 is 12, 12 into 5 is 60. So this is how the nested loop actually works. Or you can check this count in this way as well. Just go over here and create a variable initialize it from 0, right? And go over here and just say count plus plus. And at the end, when the loop is completed, just print the value total count is this count, right? So when the loop completes, it says the total count is 60. The total number of iterations over here are 60. So mostly people, while they create nested loop, they do some mistakes that they keep these loops dependent on each other, right? Like the way what we have done initially, we have written end k equal to 0 over here. So these loops should be independent of their outer loop. This loop is completely independent of this outer loop. This loop is completely independent of this while loop, right? This is a way we actually design a nested loop, which means till the time the inner loop does not finish its execution, there should be no change in the outer loop. The outer loop will be executed only and only once the inner loop is it has actually done the entire iterations. Also, the other thing that we talk about the scope of this variable, the scope of this variable is only between this for loop. Right. It means if you try to print the value of k over here, it will not gonna print. It will gonna throw an error. It will not identify what the k is. Right? Because we have defined it, we have declared it within this for loop. So it will not be able to identify. Initially we have created it over here at the global level. So we were able to identify it. But now we have actually initialized it within the for loop. So it will not be able to identify it. So the scope of this variable will be within this for loop block only.